Today's video brings us to Orlando, Florida, aka the City Beautiful, and it is a beautiful day because we're talking baseball. Or are we? Welcome everyone, this is Hugo with Signs of the Pastime. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing a video response from my friend Scott over at Stooks, Baseball Cars and Curiosities. And Scott wants us to tell a story of someone we met, an athlete or someone famous. A few years ago when this building opened up, I actually had a part-time job here working security. And I did that gig for about 3 years, which was a really fun job because, you know, so many events happen here. Of course, basketball games, concerts, things like that. I had quite a few encounters with celebrities. Working the All-Star game here in 2010, met a bunch of people then, singers, just actors. And the most memorable people I met here were actually baseball players. My favorite part of doing this job was actually working the elevators. They needed security in the elevators. And one day, just a regular basketball game, the doors open up to the elevator and it's none other than Dwight Gooden standing right there, and recognized him right away. I told him it was good to meet you, Dwight, shook his hand, and we chatted for a little bit. I was actually supposed to get off for my shift. I was supposed to exchange with someone else, but I stayed in the elevator and hung out for an extra trip down to the bottom floor and came back up just so I could hang out with Dwight for a few minutes. It was always cool meeting an athlete, of course, or a celebrity, and I was never starstruck except for once. Okay? Again, I was working the elevators. This was at a concert. I can't remember what concert I was working, but the elevator doors open up. It's just me in the elevator, and when the doors open, it's Johnny Damon sitting there with his wife, and I was just like, oh my goodness. Being a Red Sox fan, just like, whoa, Johnny, it's so cool to meet you. We shook hands. You know, he was feeling nice. He was at a concert having fun. I didn't want to bother him, but he knew that I was a fan, obviously, if I recognized him. And anyway, he was in and out of the elevator a few times because, you know, up there, the top floor there of this building, there's a nightclub, and I guess that's where all the cool drinks are. So Johnny, you know, he likes to have a good time, and he kept going up there to get a drink and stuff for him and his friends. And so every time he would come in the elevator, you know, other people were in there and nobody was really recognizing him, but we would always like give each other a fist bump, which was pretty cool, man. It was just a cool experience. Didn't chat with him too much. It was just like having fun, this and that. He's asking me if I'm, you know, having a good night, just small talk. The Johnny Damon encounter was a little different. I was a little starstruck. Quite a few fond memories here. This was the coolest part-time job I ever had, just because of all the perks. And of course, working, you know, courtside at Magic games and working the barricade at concerts. It was a super cool experience and got to meet a lot of cool celebrities. But the Johnny Damon one takes the cake. So that was right here at the Amway Center. Now we're gonna go straight down the street. Right down there from here you can see where Orlando City plays, the soccer stadium. But we're gonna go past that. We're gonna go to another place where I work security. And we made it down the street to Camping World Stadium, where it was also the site of Tinker Field at one point. It says here thousands of baseball players trained here, including Babe Ruth, Jackie Robinson, Harmon Killebrew, Rod Carew, Lou Gehrig, Warren Spahn, Hank Aaron, and Michael Jordan. And this is all that remains, this small diamond at the entrance of what once was Tinker Field. And now all that's left is this display here of old historic photos and some plaques here to the left of players that played here through the years. And I wanted to come here to Tinker Field because the Minnesota Twins had their spring training home here for many years. This is just something I wanted to add to the video as a little tribute to Scott, being that he's from the Minneapolis area, from Minnesota. He's a Twins fan. I'm sure you've been here, Scott, for spring training games. I know you come to Florida quite a bit. So I take it that you've been to Tinker Field, or what once was Tinker Field, right through here. And I remember years ago when I worked here, there was rumors that they were going to tear down the stadium, but it was such a historic place that a lot of people thought it wouldn't happen, right? They said that the city wouldn't do it, and the city acted like they wanted to salvage it, at least save the field itself. They were probably going to demolish the grandstand, but would keep the field and turn it into maybe Little League field, something like that, because down the right field line it wasn't very far. It was like 200 and some feet, because as they renovated the Camping World Stadium, more of it was pulled out, so the field was too small for professional baseball. Before they demolished in 2014, it had the oldest grandstand in all of Florida, and they demolished it in 2014, and I moved out of Orlando in 2015. Coincidence? I don't know. Then the oldest grandstand in Florida became Henley Field in Lakeland, Florida, and that's where I live now. So I don't know, maybe I have a thing for old historic ballparks and where I live. And even though nothing remains, it's just grass now, open field, the memories live on. What once was, plus the memories I had working here, this facility. The most memorable encounter was Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson were on tour in 2012, October 2012. And I was working right back here. This is where they were gonna have a concert at Tinker Field. And right there where those trailers are, that was the entrance where, there was RVs back there, just different trailers setting up for the concert. And I was just checking credentials, letting people in. It's a boring job, just sitting there checking, these guys coming in and out. But next thing you know, Rob Zombie approaches me, and I knew who he was. I was familiar with his work, not only music, but the movies. And he just wanted to go for a run. He wanted to jog. So he asked, is this neighborhood safe? And for those of you that are from Orlando, this is not a very safe neighborhood. So I talked him out of it. I said, no, it's not a good idea, man. I was joking with him. I was like, how fast can you run, But we had a pretty cool conversation, just chatted a little bit. I didn't, of course, I knew who he was. Didn't want to bother him. Didn't want to, geek out and be starstruck. So, he asked, well, what could I run? And I kind of suggested to go run in the field. There's a football field here with a track around it. And he thought that was a great idea because he had to get his exercise in. And so off he went. And I thought, man, how cool was that? Just had a conversation with Rob Zombie. And of course, sure enough, a few minutes later, I hear on the radio, there's a man running on the field. Who let someone on the field? And so I had to get on the radio and say, hey, that's the talent. He asked for permission and I thought it was cool. They said, no, it's not cool. We can't have anyone running out there. So another security officer had to go and tell Rob Zombie he couldn't run. And I'm sure he's like, well, that guy lied to me. But either way, it was a pretty cool memory, and it happened right here at Tinker Field. It doesn't have a autograph story, but it is about people I've met while working. And I've told a lot of autograph stories lately. This one was more of just meeting the people, and having that as a memory instead of having actually the autograph. And lately I've been showing a lot of locations or where baseball card photos were taken. So I'm going to continue that with today's video. Here at Tinker Field, the grandstand would stay right about here. The reason that's important is some cool baseball cards, the photos were taken like right here, right on the diamond. And I'm going to start with one of the greatest twins of all time, Hall of Famer Harmon Killebrew. As you can see in Harmon's card, the grandstand right behind him of Tinker Field, it sat right here like this. You see Harmon's really happy to be in Orlando for spring training, but that's where the grandstand once stood, right there. And another card that's pretty well known, it's Rod Carew's second year card. It's 68 tops with the Rookie Cup trophy. And right behind Carew is, you can see there, that's the grandstand of Tinker Field. Right behind him there. And then the third one, it's very similar to the Harmon Killebrew. That's the 1975 tops. New Hall of Famer, Tony Oliva. As you can see behind him, the grandstand was right there. Yeah, pretty much right there. And of course, we gotta show love to the pitchers. Another new Hall of Famer, Jim Cott. Right behind Jim, you see the grandstand there of Tinker Field. And it was right around here. See, he's right in the infield, where the infield is right here. So he was standing right about here. That's where all these guys are. Of all the cards that were taken here, all the photos, a lot of them show the grandstand or they'll be out by the outfield fence. And those are great photos, but there's only one card I can find that actually shows this in the background. This guy was a player for the Twins. He managed the Twins and he was a broadcaster. And of course, being Signs of the Pastime, not only are we showing you signs of America's pastime, where baseball once was, but of course I gotta show you an autographed card. And I have Frank Quilisi. And this Frank Quilisi, right behind him is the Camping World Stadium. Well, back then it was the Citrus Bowl. And Frank Quilisi, when he signs it, he put 7-11. Those are his jersey numbers. He was number 7 and number 11. And he stood right here. Get that out of the plastic, maybe you'll see it better. There it is. All right, right behind him. You can see there, that's the football stadium, right behind Frank. So he was right here. But this is what it looked like back then, 1967, when this photo was taken for his 68 Topps. So the memory of Tinker Field not only lives on in the people who are here, but also in the cardboard of the cards that it's featured on. And for those wondering why it's called Tinker Field, we have this Tinker building in downtown Orlando, and it is named after Joe Tinker, the baseball player who was a star with the Chicago Cubs at the turn of the century. And this building was his real estate office at one point after his playing days. And these markers tell us that this is on the National Register of Historic Places, which is nice that they preserved it, unlike Tinker Field. Tells you a little bit about his career, from his Tinker to Everest to Chance fame with the Chicago Cubs, a building that was built in 1925, preserved in 79. It's a beautiful little building, and I'm glad it still stands amongst all these skyscrapers that are now here in Orlando. So there you have it, folks, the Tinker history in Orlando. And if you stop and look around, you'll see that the signs of the pastime are all around us. So from the Amway Center, Tinker Field, in the Tinker building, in the city beautiful Orlando, Florida, I say thank you for watching. Please go check out Scott at Stooks Baseball Cards and Curiosities. Until next time, take care, my friends.